Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making groundnut soup. And as you always know, I always like to add my twist to every food, right? You want to make sure you subscribe to this channel because you're about to be wild and this is one of the most delicious soups in Nigeria. Now guys, first off, I'm going to be boiling my meat. Precisely today, I'll be using goat meat. I'm also going to be adding cow skin. This is very popular in Nigeria. It is called ponmo. I'm going to allow that steam with some onions. I love to use my onions when I'm boiling my protein because it adds its own flavor. And of course, because I'm making soup, I'm going to be adding some Cameroon pepper. Now this is ground dry Cameroon pepper. It is so good. I'm also going to be adding my seasoning cube. Now you can use whatever seasoning cube of choice, right? Now what I'm going to be doing, guys, is I'm not going to add water for the initial steaming. I'm just going to allow this cook so it can release its own juice because that's going to make the meat really flavorful and so juicy. So you can see me stirring the pot together, and you should also try this regardless of whatever meat you're using. As long as it is fresh beef or even chicken, try to steam it without adding water. It is so good. Next up, remember I said we're making groundnut soup, so here's the groundnuts. I love using unsalted groundnuts for this because it is the best to get the most flavor, right? So this already was homemade. I made this in my own oven. It's unsalted peanuts, right? So this is what it looks like after it's been roasted. Now look at all that juice in that meat. Would you believe that I didn't add water to this? So guys, your meat has about 60% water. That is the reason why you really do not need to cook with so much water if you want to get the most flavor. Now I can add water because I'll be using that in cooking my soup. Now I'm going to stir that once again together. I'm going to cover that up and allow that to cook until it is really soft and good. Now that we have this cooking on low heat, I'm going to get out my blender and I'm going to be dry blending my groundnuts. Now you can decide to blend with water, however I chose to blend this dry because this is what I've always known. Once again, you can stick to what always works for you if that's how you've always known it. However, I love to explore flavors, so I advise that you also do the same. Now I'm going to dry blend this without adding any water, and this took about a few minutes, and after a while we were good and ready. I'm going to open up that blender cup and show you exactly what it should look like. Now this is what it looks like. It's dry. I'm going to take that out and then blend my pepper mix. Now what I have here is the seeded local red bell peppers, which we call tatashe. I'm going to be putting that into my blender. I'm also going to be adding some tomatoes, about 3 tomatoes, not too much. And next up, I'm going to be adding some yellow pepper. I have to show you what it looks like. I'm also going to be adding some red scotch bonnets for heat. The yellow pepper also serves some heat in that soup, so you want to make sure you don't use too much if you cannot stand too much heat. I'm adding some onions because once again, onions is a major flavor enhancer, and that is Uziza seeds, guys. It is so good. I'm adding some smoked catfish, guys. This is going to elevate the flavor, and trust me, if you have smoked prawns, you really want to also add that. I love the taste of this fish. This has been washed and cleaned, so you can be rest assured that there are no stands or stones in it. I'm also going to be adding more of that fish because I want the soup to be super flavorful. You know, when you taste the soup and you can already taste that fishy goodness, that's exactly what we're going to get. Now I added some water. I'll be adding a little bit more water because this is also going to serve as the soup content, right? So you want to make sure that all the moisture comes in here, so I don't have to add any more water into that soup. Now we're going to go ahead to blend this until it is very smooth. This particular blend, I don't do it roughly blend. Look at how smooth and silky. You can almost feel like when you touch it, it's going to be fluffy, right? This is so smooth, and this is the exact texture you want to go for. Now let's check on our meat. It's been cooking for about 25 minutes, and at this point, I'm sure it is well cooked. Now we're just going to look at it and see how good it is. If you want to know if it's fully cooked, you can just take out a piece and cut through a knife. If it's really soft, then you know that you're good to go. Otherwise, boil it for longer. Now that pepper mix is going to go in. Notice that lovely looking color, guys. Now we're going to pour all of that into that pot. Now imagine the juice from the goat meat, all that lovely flavor. Now everything is coming together. The smoked catfish, you're going to allow that to cook on low heat. Now once again, for this soup, you don't want to use high heat, right? Especially when we begin to pour in the granite, because once you put in the granite, it's going to take very quickly, otherwise it's going to burn. Now I'm adding some smoked chicken because I love all the diverse flavors in my soup. You can decide to use, once again, whatever protein is available to you. I just rinsed off my blender cup and added that water. Now I'm adding some crayfish because imagine a Nigerian soup without crayfish. It's almost impossible. Very few recipes do not use crayfish. So I'm adding some ground dry crayfish to add some flavor, and they're going to stir that together and allow that to cook on low heat. Now one thing I love is for my soup, I love it to bubble all over before I begin to add other ingredients. Now that that is cooking, we're going to make some pounded yam. Now I have my water in another pot on fire, and then I'm going to put in my sliced yam. Now this yam is not what we know as yams if you're not from Nigeria. This is actually yam, and it is not potatoes, right? So you want to probably check to see what we call yams here in Nigeria. And for Nigerians, of course, you know yam. Allow that to cook without salt. Now look at how that soup is bubbling over. The aroma at this point is so good. Now that granules can go in. Once again, like I said earlier, you can decide to blend your granules with water, but I decided not to. So you can choose whatever process works best for you. I'm just going to pour all of that in, and then I'm going to stir that so there are no lumps. You want to stir that nicely and gently, but ensure it is well stirred so you don't have any lumps, right? Now that that is good and ready, I'm just going to allow that to cook some more because you want that granite to cook, right? Once again, like I said, please, this has to be on low heat. Do not use high heat to cook. Now, once the peanut goes in, the soup already thickens, and guys, you already begin to perceive that lovely flavor from the peanut soup. This is so good. And now we're getting to the end of the soup, adding that final crayfish for that extra flavor. And of course, for our leaves, I'm going to be using dehydrated scent leaf or dehydrated basil, depending on what you can find. And then I'm also going to be adding some bitter leaf to balance out the sweetness of the peanut soup. The bitter leaf is going to help, but you want to make sure that the bitter leaf is well washed so that it doesn't overtake or overpower the flavors of that soup. No one wants to eat a soup that is bitter, so make sure your bitter leaf is well washed. And if you taste your bitter leaf before adding it to the soup and it's still bitter, you want to wash again with warm water or hot water. Allow that soak for a bit, wash that off. Do that multiple times until it is no longer as bitter. Now I'm adding some seasoning cube, add some salt as you would like, and stir that together. And guys, this is what we have. Groundnut soup is ready. It really doesn't take too long to cook, and it's so delicious. Just look at that. Now while that is cooling down and chilling, we're going to look at our yam. I'm sure it is ready by now. It shouldn't take long because we diced it into smaller sizes. As you can see here, once my knife can go in without any resistance, then we are good to go. Now I have a food processor that I'll be using to pound my yam. I say pound because in Nigeria we're used to using a mortar and pestle to pound the yam. However, this is a very faster way and a less stressful way, right? So just put that into your food processor, and then we're going to use the gadgets to blend all that yam, but it's going to give us a very lovely fluffy texture, as you're going to see in a few minutes. Now you can decide to use a blender if it's a high power blender. So there are different options that are available today. Now let's look at what this looks like. Are you ready? Are you ready? If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I don't know why. Please subscribe. Cooking is fun, and that's the whole essence of my channel. And of course, I love to show you fun ways on how to cook. Now that the pounded yam is ready, we're serving that with the groundnut soup. You can still see that steam coming up from both plates because we love our food hot, hot. Guys, this is what it looks like. It's so delicious. Make sure you try it out. And once again, guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel to enjoy more amazing recipes like this. See you next time. Bye.